Okay, so hey, welcome, Kate. Thank you for joining us today. And you're kind of in an interesting position where you're kind of going between two industries like finance and wellness, being a yoga teacher. So, kind of give us a bit of a background about yourself, who you are, what you do.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like a bit of a double agent sometimes, like going between the wellness world and then the
Mhm.
corporate world. But my background's kind of really similar to lots of people out there. Started out, leaving school, doing my A levels, and going straight to university because I thought that was just the way to have the perfect life, is to go by what school tells you to. So I got there and I started off doing a year in engineering actually,
Wow.
and found out that that wasn't what I wanted. So I thought finance is safe. I'll be able to get a good job, so I'll just go into that. So I started off my accounting degree, and to be an accountant, you have to do exams after leaving uni and certain work experience. So I'm part qualified accountant now, and I've just been working in it for about 4 or 5 years, and just noticed that, is that all there is? Like, is this it? Like, I'm going to get a good job, but my health is suffering because I'm working all these hours and just feeling tired. And then I found out that I had scoliosis as well, and that's probably not helped working at the desk all day. So I pursued yoga, and it's just really helped my whole life. And now I've had like a whole mindset shift, and I just feel like I don't know, I can do anything now.
That's
Cool.
amazing. Like we can totally relate to
Yeah.
that. Like kind of working and then getting to that point of, is this what it is? Is this what we've been
Yeah,
working towards all this
yeah,
time? Like what is that even about? But then like you there, you kind of had that shift of, well, actually this is suffering right now. Let me look into it. And now you've had shifts within your yoga, which is amazing.
yeah,
And I think so many people will be able to relate to what you've just shared in terms of going through that journey of kind of what you think you should do.
yeah,
One of the things that we've found since we've been full time doing this stuff that we're really obviously passionate about, wellness theory, is that when we started to really take charge and lean into the things that make us feel good, we don't have those feelings of, is this all there is now? It's like, oh, what else can we create? And it
yeah.
kind of that shift happens, and it's so exciting that you're there and you're starting to pursue your yoga. I think it's very, very exciting. Um, so how are you finding that balance, like working in finance and obviously doing your yoga as well at this point?
See, well, for me, I love it, but for the people around me, so my family, friends, my partner, and stuff, I think they think that I'm taking way too much on because I'm always tired because I'm always busy. But I'm really passionate about it, so I'm excited. And being tired from doing something you like isn't the same as being tired because you're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
I can have a lot of kind of resistance in the beginning because I think my parents thought, wow, she's been through so much with her accounting and she's done so many exams, and now she's going down a completely different route. And it's just trying to navigate that as well, and explaining that yes, I'm still doing that, I'm still in it, but I do want to pursue something I'm really passionate about. So yeah, finding the time, I don't know. I manage somehow. I feel like working until late doing something on yoga, I don't mind. Working until late doing something, studying for a finance exam, I would not want to do.
That makes perfect sense. What is your kind of take on like yoga and finance combined? Because I mean, we spoke obviously before this, and a lot of our audience struggle sometimes with the stresses that finance actually brings, whether that's a mindset thing, sometimes it's a skill set thing. What do you think's going on when somebody's having issues with finance, given the fact that you've kind of had some shifts mentally and physically with your yoga and your own personal experience as well, and your skill set of finance?
Yeah, I think people get quite scared of things that are unfamiliar to them. So thinking about finance can be scary if you're not from a finance background, or you're starting to have to manage your own books and things like that. It can seem really daunting. But I think one of the most important things is to try and get to know your own finance, because once you understand where your money's coming from and where you're spending your money, that's kind of it, really. That's all you need to understand, where the money's coming in, where you're spending it. And I'd say, like, I think people get really stressed out and they avoid checking their bank accounts because, like, I don't want to see all that money going out, I don't want to see all the bills. But it's really important just to check it daily or monthly, weekly, just to really know where it's going. And you can use apps and things. I think my bank just gives me a free app that tells me how much money I've got left after I pay all my bills. And things like that can just really help stop feeling scared of it's just energy in a way, just energy coming in and out.
For sure. And I think that's it's important for a lot of people to start thinking a little bit more in depth about their finances, especially what we find people when they start tapping into all the different areas of wellness. Like Charlotte said, they do tend to overlook the importance of the financial side of it. And by kind of focusing on just the basics, like you said, the ingoings, outgoings, and knowing what you're spending versus what you're taking in, and start to track it on a bit more of a deeper level, you get to start to understand obviously where things are going, what you're doing, and what you have kind of left to play with. And when you start to become more relaxed around your finances, and you stop worrying about them, and you start to actually create more, as opposed to just thinking that you've always got a lack of all the time. And the interesting thing I found with a lot of clients is they have a bit of a disconnect between wellness and finances. They seem to think wellness is more about their health, about their mindsets, or about eating, about exercising, all this stuff, but they don't seem to have that connection that finance is a big part of wellness as well. So in your experience or in your opinion, because you're in kind of both of those industries, is how do you think like our overall well-being affects like our financial situations?
Yeah, so I think when you're in wellness and if you're thinking about good energy and things like that, sometimes you think can be bad and you shouldn't want to have it. And maybe your friends want a free yoga session or something, which is fine as a one-off. But then if you give them, keep giving one-offs all the time, you're giving a lot of energy out creating these sessions and whatever you do, and you're not getting any money back from it, which kind of means that you can't reinvest in yourself and become better and impact more people. So really, you should really take hold of your finance if you can, because the more money you get in, the more you can invest in yourself and your business, the more people you can impact and just make a big difference. And that's how I would see it. And it's just one of those things where to organize your finance, what I'd say is get just a simple Excel spreadsheet or something and write down everywhere, whoever's paying you, have a list of that, have a list of everything you've spent on your business. And then you can it's a really simple way, but you can just see it visually, and anyone can do that. You can do it on a piece of paper if you want.
Yeah, and that's the key, isn't it? It's about keeping it simple. And I always use this analogy with finances with our clients, and often it's based on what you said earlier, that kind of scared approach of I can't even look, and that's when obviously problems start to mount up potentially for people. And I always use the metaphor of like the boogeyman under the bed when you're a kid. It's like you think there's something terrible there, but actually when you look, at least you know what you're dealing with. There's nothing there? Great. Okay, is it a teddy bear? Great, you know what you're dealing with. So it's like if you look at your bank account and you're overdrawn, at least you know what you're dealing with. Now you can have a plan that goes with it. I think following on from what you and John were just saying there is like how finance and wellness go hand in hand. We've been able to see a direct correlation between the people that start to take care of how they are and how they're thinking about things and how they're approaching different situations and how they feel physically. Then there's a direct effect as how much money they even have and how much more abundant they view the world. Have you noticed any correlation like that?
Yeah, definitely. Because especially if you're in wellness, if someone's not really taking care of themselves and they're a bit run down and they're just scattered all over the place, you're probably not going to want to go and have a wellness session from them because they don't look like they're looking after themselves to begin with. So you're probably going to go to someone else. So that abundance has already gone from them and you're going to pick someone else instead. But also just, I think stress from finance really it can really make you ill and stuff. But once you start taking care of like your mental stress, maybe through meditations and stuff, then eventually you'll feel like, yeah, I'm in a good place. I can get to grips with my life, with my finances, my health, and it all kind of just, everything's quite connected like that, I think. Something I've also done, meditations on abundance, and
Nice.
they've seemed to work really well. I started doing them just as just like a little trial for myself as an experiment. And I did it. I then put some £2.50 on the lottery. And the next day, after doing a meditation abundance, I won £5 and I got a pay raise, and I wasn't expecting either. And I just did it as like a little experiment. But I think if you really believe in things like that, it can work.
Absolutely, and that's where manifestation comes into it, isn't it? Sometimes people often think, well, if I do the meditation and tick it off the list, then I'm going to attract all this money. Or if I think abundant thoughts, then money's going to come to me. And that is true to a point. It's better to put that out there than lack. But at the same time, you've got to feel it. Like you said, you've got to believe it. You've got to really own it and be like, yeah, do you know what? Life is abundant. Things are flowing to me. This energy, I'm open to receive it. I'm ready to give it. Like, and you're just all in with it. You're going to start to actually manifest it. I love that though, that you get a pay raise and you win the lottery, like just from doing a few meditations.
It was just a silly thing. Like, I don't think that would work all the time for everyone. So I'm not like saying, oh, do meditation on abundance and you're getting that. But I think it's just having that open mind and just trying things, and also just that settles your mind as well, doesn't it? And just stops you from worrying about that financial stress.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And like I like kind of taking that back to as well, like your belief around money as well. Like if you're doing a meditation on abundance, but your belief is money is bad and is evil, you've got those two contradicting kind of thoughts there that are fighting against each other. And I think this is an important part of people to understand that money is not bad. Money is important. It's not the most important thing, but like you said, it is important because the more you have, the more you can help others as well when it comes to helping yourself in growing your own skill set, your own self-development, which in turn can help others, or even just helping others that you come across that are in need. So even though money is not the number one priority, it is a byproduct of what you do, how you act, how you show up. And that in turn can affect the lives of people around you in a positive way if you have that belief system there that will do it. And with that belief and that emotion tied to it, and obviously you can manifest that abundance when all the time.
I've got this thing going in my head. I really want to bring this conversation back to like the stress that maybe some of our listeners are experiencing. And our audience are obviously, some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are in full-time employment, some of them are even students and learning about this money stuff like off the bat. And some of the people, because we do a lot of regular surveys and engagements with our audience as well, is they've said that money is just this extreme stress sometimes. And I always bring everything back to a sense of human behavior and what we need at our core. And two of those things that every single human being needs is freedom and security, right? In some way, shape or form, we need both. For some people, it is financial freedom. For other people, it's emotional freedom. For some people, it's all of the above, But with finance, there's a very thin line, isn't there, between that secure feeling and having freedom. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially if they're starting out in business or something, kind of like where I'm at now. I just started this year, and there's a lot of times you're thinking like, oh, I can't start this because I haven't got the money to invest in proper equipment or time to just, I need to hire someone to do this for me, to get a logo for me. I don't have money to do that. But really, things like that, you shouldn't let it limit you. You should just start, because everyone has to start somewhere. And once you start, the money will start coming in, and then you can just reinvest. But yeah, it's a fine line. So you don't want to be spending anything that you don't have, or spending what leaves you not being able to feed yourself or pay your bills. I think when you're holding on to it with a tight grip, you're really blocking the energy, and no one wants to pay you then if you're just holding on and you're not getting better at all.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say to like our audience that are listening that maybe need some practical tips? How can they enjoy a bit of freedom with their finance, and how can they also have that sense of security at the same time? Have you got any practical tips that you could maybe give them, something they could go away and think? Now you've already given one about like just tracking, just looking first, look at what's really going on, and obviously tracking the ins and outs. Is there anything else you'd add there?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, these are just really basic, but with like when you get paid or whenever you have your payday, just making sure all your bills go out automatically at the same day. So the money that's left there is your money. But also you can do things like set up a separate account where you instantly transfers money in, and that could be like for your business, your holiday, whatever you want it to be. And you just don't touch that money then, because it's in the account. You have to go out of your way to go and get that money back. So you just save it. And I just recommend just having a separate account to save. Not using things like, well, you can sometimes, but I wouldn't recommend using like Klarna and things like that, where you split pay later, because you can sometimes forget and then you just rack up a lot of interest, unless you're really on it and you know, oh, I've actually used that, so I need to pay it now. But things like that, mainly tracking.
Perfect. And I think that that's the most important thing. Like, we always talk in wellness, like, go back to basics, like, and they're so important. And that's why I'm so happy that they're the tips that you've shared, because it really isn't that complicated. And like you said at the very beginning, it can be this big scary thing. And if we actually just go back to basics, work with the obvious things that maybe haven't been obvious before, by tracking, by checking what's going in and out, having different accounts is really, really useful. That's something obviously that we do. You know, we have our business account, we've got like a contribution account, which is where we'll like do donations or whatever throughout the year. We've got like a fun account. You know, we've got all these different ways of just kind of almost separating it so that we know where we're at, and that we've got that kind of almost a sense of control. I would like rather say like security is probably healthier, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that in that security and in that element of control, we then do have the freedom in amongst that as well, don't we?
Yeah, definitely we do. And I think with a lot of things is when people start to, when they have that freedom, they do feel more relaxed to be able to do more. And the thing is, it's not waiting for that freedom to happen, it's creating it. And that's what I think a lot of people tend to do. They tend, like you said before, is like they would wait, and when this happens, then I can be more financially free, or when this happens, I can be happier, or this happens, I can be less stressed about money. But it's actually creating the environment you want, is creating the experience you want of freedom. By, like you said, just once you start becoming aware and tracking everything, you start to know what you've got left to play with and where to invest it. And then that just sends you down a kind of a road, or a more sense of kind of freedom of choice. Ready? So now I can decide, I'm going to put that there, I'm going to put that there, I'm going to put that there, and take one step forward and just do one little thing for your business, or one little thing to improve yourself, whether that's something that costs a tiny bit, doesn't cost anything at all, or maybe costs a little bit more than you'd normally spend. But at least that way people know where their money is going, and they're not freaking out about, can I afford it, can I not afford it? And then, like you said, is gripping onto it, and they're not actually doing anything. So they just stay exactly where they are.
How does yoga affect, do you think, people's energetic blocks, whether it's around money or anything else?
I think it just, well, I think it can help you have a mindset shift. And speaking about financial freedom and everything like that, it really just makes you realize that freedom is, in a way, it's just a state of mind, isn't it? Like, if you feel trapped, then yeah, you're trapped. But if you feel free, you're going to be free to be able to do whatever you want. And I think it's just starting the journey is probably the hardest bit for everyone. So that's what who I kind of focus on helping, is people who want to start their wellness journey with yoga. Because I think just changing one little thing in your life, like exercising or eating healthy or meditating, whatever it is, it just ripples out, and then you become curious and you're like, oh, I'm actually realizing that I've had a bit of an energy shift, a bit of a mental shift. I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling in control, or feeling secure, as you said. And yeah, I think starting one thing like yoga can just really help.
I'd agree, definitely. We've seen as well something quite interesting when it comes to obviously the movement side of wellness, when you're working on the inside and the outside at the same time. And when I say inside, I'm talking about like our psychology, our emotional state. When I'm saying outside, talking like practicing your yoga and doing your routines and all that kind of stuff. And what we've noticed is people that's become slightly getting freer mentally and emotionally, they're able to suddenly lean into different movements, and they're able to actually find that sense of flow, if you like, even in like a yoga practice. Have you noticed anything like that, either personally or in your teaching?
Yeah, definitely. I notice it all the time. Sometimes I think, especially if you've still got friends who aren't really into the wellness and things, sometimes they can look at you and think like, well, how are you doing that? I'm like, I don't know. I just had a shift. I just know I can do it. So I just start doing it. And yeah, it's really good. It's super exciting. And I'm just still excited to be carrying on learning about changing the energy and shifting towards more good energy and positivity. It's exciting.
It is, it really
It's
is.
definitely so. For those people like who maybe haven't thought about their wellness, or who can relate to kind of your position, where they're in a corporate world or even in a completely different industry that's not even related to wellness in the sense of actually focusing on it, what piece of practical advice would you give them um, to basically start that step into their wellness?
I think it's something really basic. You don't need to be going and doing an hour every day of anything. You can start off with just 5 minutes of simple stretching after work. That's how I started. And just breathing. I think if everyone took a few deep breaths before a stressful meeting, so much drama could be avoided in the corporate world. All meetings could just go smoothly. Everyone taking deep belly breaths. I think that would be really nice. But yeah, just learning how to maybe breathe a little bit better would be good. You can easily do that at your desk. No one knows you're doing it. And yeah, simple stretching, just really simple tips. I think once you start one thing, they all kind of start coming. You start drinking more water. You start thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't have that cake. Maybe I'll have an apple. It just all kind of starts rolling.
Absolutely. I love that you said breath there. I
Yeah.
mean, you said a bunch of things, but especially the breath, because we're always talking about breath. It's the one thing that everybody has access to. It's the simplest place to begin. And the shifts are outstanding just from breath alone. Then add in the yoga side, or add in, the beliefs that you have. And like we said, the thoughts that we have. It's incredible what it leads to. It just escalates, doesn't it? More and more. Listen, if you could get everyone in the world to be able to understand one thing about themselves, what would it be?
Just that you have the ability within you to make any changes. Oh, I think you've already said that in the beginning. Oh, but yeah,
Yeah.
just have you do have it. You can change whatever your circumstances. It doesn't matter where you started, where you think you're going. You can change the direction at any time. If you don't like where you're going, you can just say, whoa, this isn't me, I'm going the other way. And you can do it by just breathing, getting to know yourself, kind of blocking out all the external distractions and just tuning into what you actually want.
Nice. There'll be a lot of people that needed to hear that.
Definitely. You control where you go. You control your reality. So for you, like, how's that work for you? So in the last 5 years, what kind of like new belief or behavior or maybe habit that has really improved your life the most?
I think a lot of people feel like this when they leave uni and go into their job, and they have to feel lucky to get a job because that's what they're told. There's not many jobs around. You should feel lucky that you've got one. But you just always feel like you're fighting and trying to get somewhere, and you don't even know where you're going. So I think what I've been working on the past 5 years is just gaining clarity over what I actually want. So instead of feeling like I'm always fighting, I just surrender. And then when you surrender, sometimes things actually work out really well. And I believe surrendering is actually really, even though it sounds bad, sometimes I think it is really a good way to be. Things just come into your life then.
Yeah, and definitely. And like you said, sometimes it has that kind of negative connotation, doesn't it? Surrendering, because it's almost equates to giving up in some people's minds. But I'm with you, like totally. The more you can be accepting of a situation as it is without any preferences, that's a beautiful place to be living from. And when you're in that state, anything goes, doesn't it?
Yeah, things just start happening when you stop fighting for something else to happen instead.
Definitely. When we resist, that's when suffering starts. That's the birth of suffering, is when we start resisting our experience. So I think that's beautiful. I love that you've shared that. I think that's great. I don't think anybody said that. That's one of our questions that we tend to ask our guests, and I don't think anybody has said surrender.
No, not surrender yet.
I like that. I like it.
It's a good one. Excellent. Yes. So just before we kind of like wrap things up, for any other people listening who want to maybe get in touch with you, we can obviously especially relate to what you're going through and maybe want to just talk and ask some questions, where can people find you?
So far I'm just on Instagram, so it's at Cate Hickey Yoga with a C.
Nice. We'll put your links in there. I've seen, obviously, you do a lot of like Zoom yoga sessions as well. You put some cool quotes and posts and stuff on there as well, which is really, really nice to see. And are those Zoom yoga sessions open for anyone that kind of wants to join? How does that work?
Yeah, they're all UK times, but yeah, anyone can join. They're focused on people who are trying to get into yoga or starting yoga and don't know how to.
Fantastic. Lovely. Listen, is there anything else whilst you've got our audience captivated in your story, which is great, and we really appreciate you sharing that as well, especially coming through, you know, that kind of dilemma of university, like you said there, it's like you go into a job just because it's just what you're supposed to do, it's the done thing, you know, it's what we should do. Like you said, that lack of jobs, should we go into something secure, do we pursue what we're doing? There's a lot of people that will be able to relate to it. So I really, really appreciate you sharing that. But is there anything whilst they're listening that you want to say?
I don't know if I'd personally be able to say it, but I did find this quote that I quite like, is from the Dalai Lama, and it's just asked, when someone asked him what surprised him most, it was man, he sacrifices his health in order to make money, then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. So I thought, well, you should try and kill two birds, one stone. Look after your health, and that look after your money. Kind of doing it in reverse. So instead of trying to make lots of money and sacrificing your health, try and look after your health, and like the money will come in after. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. that is like the perfect way to wrap up this episode. I think that's a great quote, and I think there's some real profound lessons, not just in the quote, but in everything you've shared with us today. So thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure our paths will cross again. So it'll be great to continue to watch this space and watch your journey and see how your yoga starts to evolve even more. And if you end up deciding that you want to go fully into that, or if you're happy in this nice balance of both, you know, the full-time finance and the yoga space as well, because I think that alone is just like worth recognizing. The fact that you're even doing that, I think, is huge.
Thank you. Thank you to you two as well for having me on. It's been such a pleasure. I enjoy binging all your stuff.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.